2018 NBA Coach of the Year is...
Dwayne Casey for the Toronto Raptors.
Not no more.
Coach of the Year, Dwayne Casey. Now, he got the award for what he did in Toronto before he got fired, but he is the head coach of your Detroit Pistons. We're bringing some hardware back to Detroit.
Now it's all downhill from there.
Hey. We got all summer to talk about that.
Just kidding. Only positivity here.
That's
for
right,
Pistons.
right. All positive vibes here about the Pistons until we get to the regular season. Joey, Malik, we've made it through draft week. We're heading into free agency. A lot of stuff to cover today. We got our draft breakdown from last week, what we liked, what we didn't, our draft winners, draft losers, grading the Pistons draft, and then kind of going into what moves we'll see this weekend when free agency starts and what moves we could potentially see the Pistons make. And then there's also some front office changes we might touch on as we get later into to the show, but no promises there. Joey, Malik, how you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Draft wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be, but it was still interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that, Malik. I mean, let's start there. We said on these airwaves last week, we thought this draft had the potential to be a crazy draft. A lot of big players moved. That just wasn't the case. I mean, you heard names like Kemba Walker in the rumors, whether DeAndre Jordan would opt in and then they would trade him. There's a lot of stuff going on. Actually, no current NBA players, were traded on draft night. It was all draft right deals and picks to be used later on. Now, to start the show off, I'm going to ask Joey this question.
Oh, boy.
What was your favorite draft transaction from last week?
Favorite draft move? Like, are you talking about like a trade?
Yeah, trade. Or, you know what? Or drafting a certain player.
I
know what mine is.
I mean, I'm going to go just out of the box just to give.
No, out of the box. Be honest with the people, okay?
Well, no, I like
Joey
it.
has hot takes. Let
But
him go
I-
outside of the box.
I don't think he's had a hot take, though. I think he's trying to protect his hot takes.
I like it for the fit. I for some reason, I really like the Grayson Allen draft by
my
the
God.
Jazz. I feel like he fits that team really well.
I wish I had the boo thing teed up.
I told you,
That's
there's
terrible,
there's
Joe.
obvious other choices. I'm just gonna bring you some of the ones that you might not hear about as much.
Wait, so which pick did you like, Joe?
Grayson Allen to the Jazz.
And the crowd goes wild. No controversy in that pick at all. None.
No,
Malik, what about you?
This may seem kind of obvious, but I think Phoenix obviously getting Mikal Bridges in a trade from Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
That pick, I mean, it completely threw me off. That was probably the most surprising part of the first round to me. Them drafting DeAndre Ayton 1, then being able to swing Mikal Bridges, and also drafting Zaire Smith from Texas Tech. So,
Well, Zaire Smith went to Philly in the deal.
yeah, I forgot he got traded to Philly. So
that was the guy
swinging them two. It's very surprising.
Yeah, I still think Phoenix made out better in that deal. Mikal Bridges, I think, has the potential to be an all-star type player in the NBA, while Zaire Smith is more of a risky pick. And I'm not sure
he's a developing guy.
And I'm not sure he fits Philly. I mean, Mikal Bridges would have plugged right in, gave him another stretch the floor shooter. And Zaire, I mean, he's essentially just going to take Markelle Fultz's spot. That pick
And
made
he's not
me question,
even going to yet because he's not ready as a
well,
player.
that pick made me question: are they going to maybe look to move Fultz if the right deal comes along? Because I mean, yeah, you can say Zaire Smith isn't ready yet, but Markelle Fultz wasn't ready last year.
I'm not going to go as far as saying, well, because of the injuries, he wasn't ready. But when he was on the court,
And the yips, he had the yips too.
Later in the season when he played, when he got the triple-double in the last few games of the season, you saw the talent he had, his court vision. His shoulder was still messed up, so he couldn't really shoot. But he's getting it together now. I don't see Zaire Smith in the next 2 or 3 years having any chance of. He's just not as talented as Markelle.
We'll pencil that in. We'll come back to it in 2 or 3 years when Zaire wins or becomes an all-star.
You remember that, Joey? Zaire Smith all-star. Remember he said that.
No.
I think he's going to be good. I think he'll.
I'm not
fit.
saying he's an all-star. I'm just saying, like, just to hold it against you if it somehow happens. Now, Malik, we did in our draft preview. We were the general managers. We were making the picks. We did really well for Atlanta. I really liked our draft. So I want to get your opinion from a fellow Atlanta Hawks executive here. What'd you think of the Trae Young Luka Doncic deal?
Now, I wish it could have been done better. As I took Jaren Jackson, I think that would have been the better move. But Atlanta does need some excitement right now because nobody really cares. People go to Hawks games; they still have a great fan base, but they don't win, so people don't really care. You need something that'll draw some sellouts. Trae Young will draw sellouts. Them getting Kevin Huerter and Amari Spellman, they had a really good draft. Those three guys can help them right now. If Kevin Huerter is healthy, and what was it, a foot injury, ankle injury?
Yeah. No, Kevin Huerter's with a hand.
Oh, hand. Okay. Yeah, if he can get healthy quickly, those three guys could contribute immediately. Trae Young is going to. So
Herter's only out for 2 months, and
Okay.
he's already almost halfway through it, so he should be ready to go pretty soon at least.
Yeah. Joey, so what's your opinion on that Trae Young Luka Doncic deal? You like it? You don't? Who do you think comes out on top on that one?
I forgot to say Dallas is probably a fantastic fit for Luka Doncic.
I think
It's a great fit for him.
I think it's really cool now that you have Trae Young and Luka Doncic now forever kind of tied at the hip, career wise. Like everyone's gonna see who came out better in this deal.
Yeah, I think the Mavericks came out ahead slightly, but I don't necessarily like taking Trae Young at 3 basically for the Hawks, but they do kind of need
Well,
that
essentially
guy.
they didn't pick Trae Young at 3; they picked him at 5.
Whatever, however you
Just
want to
saying.
spin it. Everybody
spin it that
talks
way.
it differently, but I think he'll definitely fill the stands. He's an exciting player. He draws Steph Curry comparisons, and they need a point guard. I don't think Schroeder is going to be there forever.
I think he
And-
gets moved this summer.
right, especially now that they drafted Trae Young, and I think the Doncic fit is really well for the Mavs. I think the Mavs probably win the trade just because they got to move up and get a better prospect overall. We'll still have to see how he's going to fit in the NBA, how he's going to work out, but I think it's going to be a good combination with guys like Dennis Smith Jr. and stuff from the Mavs, and you have Dirk Nowitzki, who's come from Europe to come play, and so he knows that experience. He knows what Luka's going to have to go through, and all the questions that are going to need to be answered. So I think having a mentor like that is a great thing for him, and I think that's where the fit really works out.
Now, do either of you guys think that Phoenix won the draft this year? They got DeAndre Ayton, the number 1 prospect. They made that trade for Mikal Bridges, and then they got Elliot Okobo at 31, that French point guard everyone's been talking about, 18 years old. He was a prospect and was in play, I think, starting around 22, 23 in the first round. I'm going to say Phoenix won the draft. They're my draft winner.
I mean, if you say they didn't, I mean, who else could you say? A lot of teams.
I mean, there's other teams that did do well for themselves.
A lot of teams had one good pick and then to like 1 or 2 other solid picks, but nobody
had
had
three solid.
nobody had that type of draft. Like Elliot Kobo, I've only seen him once or twice, but people are hyping him up to the point where they're saying he could be the next really good French guard. And then you get Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton. I don't think any other team came out with that type of firepower that they could have in the coming years.
Joe?
Yeah, I think on paper they came out on top. I think
Yeah.
the Hawks are right there. I didn't really like the Devontae Graham trade that they made, but they do get 2 future second-round picks out of that. So they get Trae Young, Kevin Huerter, and Amari Spellman with 2 future second-round picks. That's pretty darn good because they're not going to be good next year. Like, this draft isn't going to change their team right away. It's kind of still a work in progress.
Do they have to trust the process?
A little bit. But I think the Nuggets could be right there because
What do you mean right there?
because of drafting Michael
Oh.
Porter Jr.
That's one of the best picks, man.
Because
But he might not. He's not going to play
Right,
year
right.
1.
but the Nuggets were that perfect team where we had talked about before where, their team is in a good spot right now. So even if it doesn't work out, they're okay.
Yeah.
If this works out, they look like geniuses.
Yes.
And this is exactly what that franchise needs to just get over that hump that they've been trying to get to in the Western Conference.
The crazy thing is, I think Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN said it in his post-draft kind of podcast. If Michael Porter Jr. didn't go 14 to Denver, Washington was going to pass on him. Like there could have been, he could have fallen all the way to San Antonio
Yeah.
or a team like that. That's how bad the medical that came in on him was.
Right.
And that's what scares me a little bit. Yes, I understand you're getting a heck of a player at 14. That's awesome. But the back issues, that's nothing to play around with in the NBA.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like the Nuggets,
Oh, yeah,
they were the team that could take a chance.
Oh,
on
yeah,
it.
definitely. I agree with you completely. A few of my other draft winners, my number 1 was Phoenix. For me, Dallas is number 2 because, I mean, I spoke about it last week. Luka is, in my opinion, one of the best prospects we've seen in a long time. And then they got Jalen Brunson in the second round. Jalen Brunson's a winner. He'll bring that mentality too. He's a guy that plays hard. Golden State, I thought, was a winner too. Jacob Evans from Cincinnati, 3-and-D guy, 40% from deep, will lock you up on the other end. Then San Antonio Spurs, Lonnie Walker. He slid to them at 18. He could be that potential piece that fills the void of Kawhi maybe walking in a year or them trading him this summer. Malik, who are a few of your winners?
I think the Boston Celtics are really big winners because they have all-stars, they have scores. 1 through 4, those positions, they are set. The 5 is where there's questions. Daniel Theis, I forgot how to pronounce his last name.
I think it's
Daniel Theis played good when he was healthy, but he doesn't really have star potential, and he's injury prone. Baines is probably leaving.
I don't think he's leaving. I think he was at the awards last night at Brad Stevens' table. I don't know. I don't think Baines is leaving. I feel he had a career year. I'm not sure he'll walk away from Boston. It's possible. It's possible. But
It'd be a good decision for him to stay. But
Yeah.
them getting Robert Williams, they have a true 5 that doesn't need the ball. A guy that's going to rebound, play defense, block shots, catch lobs.
yeah.
He is a guy that is perfect for that team right now.
And he was
'Cause they don't need any more scoring.
Yeah, and he was projected to go in that 12-13 range. With one of the Clipper picks, he slid, and the Celtics got an absolute steal. Joey, who are a few more of your winners?
Let's see. Outside of the ones that we've already talked about, and I'll talk about this too, because the Sixers are somewhat of a winner and somewhat of a loser because their draft could go either way. Because they got Zaire Smith, who's kind of a highlight reel kind of player.
Dunk contest winner potentially.
If he works out, they'll look good for trading Mikal Bridges. The trade is definitely questionable,
Yeah.
but you got to think, what is it, in 2021, they're going to get a first-round pick that could be pretty good. So then they're going to have Ben Simmons, maybe a more ready Zaire Smith, Joel Embiid, if they pick up anybody in free agency this year. Plus, they're going to get a first-round pick in 2021. I mean, I know we keep talking about the process should be over, but at that point, they'll be more developed, and then they get a first-round pick, they could be pretty good. That could work out really well for them.
I also think it's going to work out really poorly for them because I think Mikal Bridges is going to be a stud. I think he's in that Klay Thompson mold, a step under. He's that all-star. He has all-star talent, and he's a guy that's going to give you everything every night. And I think he would have fit perfectly with Philly, right next to Ben Simmons. You don't know what's going to happen with JJ Redick. He could be gone.
I think he stays.
Yeah,
But I understand, yes.
it's something you have to think about. And Zaire Smith, he's not going to stretch the floor for you. He, like I even said earlier in the show,
He's a solid shooter, but he has to keep. He has a lot of developing to do on offense.
he's no Mikal Bridges from the perimeter.
Nothing close.
He is that combo guard that would take minutes from Markelle Fultz. This pick signaled to me that they are already looking to move on from Fultz. And I think it's too soon. I thought it was a questionable trade. Their number 2 is my draft loser. But I mean, we'll see.
No, that's what I'm saying. They could be a
crazy.
loser out of this as well. That's
No,
why
no,
I said
I-
it's I have them in my winners and my losers because of it.
And the funny thing is we're doing the draft grades now, which is kind of like a bad thing to do because you don't know
Right.
what's going to happen. These players, everything changes.
And I still think there's a chance for Fultz to come back.
I think so too. But
And
I'm
if
not
he
sure
does,
if it's in
and
Philly.
if he returns to form, then Philly looks really good. But those are all up in the air kind of questions.
Oh yeah, I forgot my number 1 loser from the draft. I'm sure to get roasted by both of you. My number 1 loser, the Sacramento Kings. Marvin Bagley, I think, was the worst pick possible. You had Luka Doncic on the board.
That's just because you're a big Luka Doncic fanboy.
But I even like Jaren Jackson Jr. is a better prospect than Marvin Bagley. I think he fits the today's NBA more so than Bagley.
Maybe.
I think there's a lot of other players they could have went. You don't go Trae Young because you have De'Aaron Fox.
I mean, maybe.
But I just think Marvin Bagley is more of a 2005 to 2010 type player and not moving into that new age basketball.
I think he's like Chauncey compared him when they drafted him to Chris Bosh. I think Chris Bosh could fit in very well in today's game.
But it took a long time. It took a long time for Chris Bosh to get a 3-point shot, though.
It did,
that's because
Marvin
he was-
Bagley has shown that he hit 39% of his threes.
And I do think that
but a very low rate of 3-point attempts.
He's not a high used like.
And every
he
single
doesn't
one was
take
open.
a lot of threes.
I
Every
think
single one was open.
the only other reason
I'm just saying.
that Chris Bosh took so long to develop his 3-point because he was in the middle of that era changing over.
It's fair. Fair point. Fair point.
But I don't know. I think Marvin Bagley's just more NBA ready, and I think the Kings went with a very safe pick, and I think that's perfectly fine. I get the Jaren Jackson hype that people are surrounding him with, but I think Marvin Bagley can develop his game just as much. He has a lot more offensive skill, I think, in footwork at the moment than Jaren Jackson does, and he can slowly work his way out to the 3-point line. I think Jaren Jackson or most likely is a better defender, but I think they're very similar players, so I don't think that they could be the loser per se.
Yeah,
they're my loser.
Bagley
Easy.
is a guy that comes in and plays at a very good level right now and a high level in a few years. Jaren Jackson could get to a superstar level in maybe 4 or 5 years. I think Marvin Bagley could be a perennial all-star, but I think Jaren Jackson maybe could take a step higher.
He has
but
a higher ceiling.
I don't think it's a bad pick at all for
I knew-
Sacramento.
I knew I was going to get roasted by you guys. I just had to say it. So Sacramento is my big loser. Malik, who's your big draft day loser?
My big draft day loser. Well, first I have a loser. I don't think they're the biggest loser, but I think the Clippers are a loser for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jerome Robinson back to back. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think he's going to be a good pro. Jerome Robinson has the chance to be a good pro, but with those two back-to-back picks, you had a chance.
Yeah, there was a lot of talent there.
You had a chance to really, really make a mark. You could have taken Lonnie Walker. You could have taken Michael Porter.
Yeah.
There were guys there.
They could have even taken the risk on Michael Porter
That's
Jr.
exactly
having the
what I was
back-to-back
gonna say.
picks.
I agree with that.
And with those back-to-back picks, you take two really good college players that most probably will turn out to be solid NBA players.
But they don't have that superstar
Yeah,
potential.
no.
Who is your that's not your biggest loser, but who is your biggest draft day loser, Malik?
My biggest draft day loser, I thought the Washington Warriors had a great position.
Wizards.
They had a great position to take Robert Williams. at
Breaking
15.
news. There's a new NBA team.
The
The Washington Warriors. Sorry, Malik. I had to. But no, I agree with you. I think the Wizards,
You
Troy
take
Brown.
Troy Brown from
Yeah.
Oregon. A guy at 3. You have Otto Porter. You have Kelly Oubre, who looks like he could be a potential 6th man of the year. He's coming on very
I
strong.
like Kelly Oubre.
And you take Troy Brown, who's a guy that'll probably be in the G League for a year or two, honestly. I don't really see Troy Brown contributing much. And in the second round, you take a European guy that a lot of people really don't know, and he looks like a really raw prospect. So
Yeah.
the Wizards need answers and like more players right now to help. There's already a whole bunch of controversy going on with John Wall and Bradley Beal. They didn't make it any better at all.
Yeah,
in this
they didn't
draft.
do anything that helps them tomorrow. Joe, who's your draft day loser?
I had the Wizards as well.
Yeah.
But
call.
and the Hornets.
you think the Hornets are a loser?
I don't think Miles is going to do.
Yeah, I agree with it.
much
I
for
agree
the
with
Hornets.
Malik. I'm not a big Miles Bridges guy.
I think he's going to be all right.
He'll be all right, but
I would have liked Shai
Gilgeous-
Gilgeous better
Yeah,
at
I think he'd
11.
make a bigger impact in Charlotte than
especially with
Miles.
Kemba out the door potentially.
My other
Yeah, who's your loser though, Joe?
loser, I already said it, kind of the Sixers, and then I kind of think that the Blazers were a little bit of losers in this draft.
How did I forget that?
Yeah, like
Please speak on it, Joey.
it's another one of those drafts. Like they had a chance to, like this draft was very safe up and down, and they ended up getting Gary Trent Jr. through trade.
Yep.
What was the exact? Do you guys
the first
remember the
round
exact?
pick was Anthony
Simons or
Yeah.
Simmons, but I don't know. The Blazer, it was just kind of a weird pick to me. He's kind of a bit of an unknown, and
He's raw. I mean, I feel like with Portland, you won 49 games last year. You want to bring in someone that's going to help contribute right away.
yeah, but they're at the point of trying to keep Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum together, and I don't think that this is going to help mend
That's what I'm saying.
that.
They didn't bring somebody in that's going to contribute to
Right.
this team.
This
right
reminds me of Sebastian Telfair
away.
when they drafted him out of high school.
The hype
Yeah.
around Sebastian was so huge.
The way the Trailblazers fell apart in the playoffs.
Sebastian
Anthony
Telfair is
Simmons,
sick in 2K. I'll tell you what.
Anthony Simmons is not the guy you go to when you're a
Right.
team that completely breaks down in the playoffs
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it was just a kind of weird draft for the Blazers. I felt like they had a lot of moves they could have made. And then my two other losers are Nikola Vucevic and Skal Labissiere for losing their starting jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good ones.
Well, I think Nikola might get traded.
Yeah.
So he
I
might
think
still be
Nicola's still
starting.
going to start.
Yeah,
to start the
I could see
season.
him starting the season.
Yeah, they
too.
they did that with Jonathan Isaac, and Jonathan Isaac never became anything.
If
Well,
I was
he
Orlando,
he was hurt too.
dude,
and
it's
he's
been
very
1
raw,
year.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
If I'm Orlando,
He had a lot of hype.
I start all my young guys. I'll have
Yeah.
vets play behind. I
They
don't
have nothing to
care.
lose.
They have nothing. Yeah.
Jonathan Isaac and Mo Bamba, I think that's pretty good.
I blame the failure of Hazonia on Orlando.
Because I don't know if they're gonna get Aaron Gordon back. So
True.
All right. So let's get into the fun stuff, though, guys. The Detroit Pistons.
oh boy,
They actually made a move with their senior advisor running the front office, Ed Stefanski, traded 2 future second-round picks for Philly's number 38 pick. And I actually thought this was a solid move. They traded up to get Kyrie Thomas out of Creighton, 6'4" shooting guard, 6'11" wingspan, which is huge. 2-time Big East Player of the Year. Shot 40% from deep.
Big East Defensive Player of the Year last year also.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Big East Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time. He's 22. He's at a good age where he's ready to contribute. I think this guy's going to be good. I think he's a 8 to 10 year NBA player. He reminds me of my pro comparison for him is a lesser version of Avery Bradley. He could develop into that type of player, but as of right now, he's kind of that lesser version. The guy plays hard. Malik, what'd you think of Kyrie Thomas?
Kyrie Thomas, I think that was a fantastic pick for the Pistons. Them getting 2 players in this draft is more than what I expected. The other player is kind of questionable at this point to me, but
I think Kyrie is a sure
yeah,
thing, though.
Kyrie Thomas, he's a guy that can come in immediately, play defense, make some open shots, and as he develops more as an offensive player, he's a guy that can come off the bench and really make an impact on a game.
Yeah, he's not a guy that's going to kind of flash you with his ball handling and his way to get to the basket. Kyrie Thomas is a basic guy. He's going to catch and shoot. He'll spot up.
He can
He'll-
drive. He can drive it to the rim.
He can drive it to the
athletic,
rim,
yeah.
but he's not going to
Yeah.
hit you with double crossovers behind the back to get to the rim. That might develop. Joe, what's your take on Kyrie Thomas? Do you like the pick, or are you against trading the 2 second-round picks? Future
I
second-round picks.
kind of like it. I don't.
You kind of like it. You kind of don't.
Yeah, I kind of don't. I gave the Pistons a draft grade of a C+.
We're gonna get to that, Joe. Why do you gotta spoil it for?
Well,
the
I'll
people?
start it off then. But Stefanski said they were looking for wings. I felt like they didn't really get wings. They got weird. They got typical Pistons draft picks, to be honest. They got those weird in-between kind of players.
I don't
The
think
Rodney
Kyrie's
Stuckeys.
typical.
I think
I think Bruce
Kyrie's
Brown is.
I think Bruce Brown's a typical
Because-
Piston pick, second-round pick.
because Bruce Brown is 6'5". He's coming off an injury, a foot injury, to be exact.
Kyrie Thomas can guard 1 through 3.
And he shot 27% from the three-point line. So I think Bruce Brown was a little bit of an
Yeah.
odd pick. Kyrie Thomas has potential, but he's only 6'3", 6'4".
He's 6'4". Stop.
He's a little bit
shortchanging him.
He's a little bit undersized. I get that you guys are talking about his wingspan,
You talk about
but-
Mo Bamba's wingspan all the time.
but
I
he
can't-
is also 7 foot with an 8'5" wingspan. Kyrie Thomas is a smaller with a 6'11" wingspan, so the wingspan's good, but that still doesn't change his standing reach all that much. And I like that Kyrie Thomas is a gritty guy. I think he fits the Detroit toughness, but I'm just not sure where the fit exactly works out. We'll have to see, obviously. He definitely has potential to fit. I just don't see it right this second.
Well, at that point, what wings could they have taken? Honestly,
Right. No, that's
True.
what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah,
impartial to that.
They would have had to take a flyer on some European guy, and the
Right. That's why I like the trade is that they moved up to get somebody that it's a little more promising, but I'm still a little bit confused.
Yeah, and you guys kind of touched on the player they actually drafted with their draft pick at number 42. Bruce Brown Jr. out of Miami. Combo guard, probably mostly a shooting guard. Plays
showed a
on
lot
point.
of promise when he was healthy.
Yeah,
but
he showed a lot of promise when he was healthy. When he was healthy and he was a freshman, he showed that promise.
Yeah.
He was projected to be a lottery pick.
exactly.
So there is potential in there. He said he's been working on his 3-point shooting since he's come back from his foot injury. We'll see if that translates If he can actually shoot the ball at a decent clip next year, you might see him contribute a little bit. I still think next year he's a G League player. I think Kyrie Thomas will actually play significant minutes for the Pistons. But Bruce Brown needs a little bit more in developing. Very athletic. He has that Donovan Mitchell type athleticism. Not player, but athleticism at that
He's really
size.
explosive.
Yeah.
He surprises you when he takes off.
And my question is with him, since I don't know too much about him, is will he bring it every night? I know everybody from Miami swears by that he's a dog and he'll give you everything, but I got to see it, you know. We're gonna go around and give our draft grades. Wait, Joey already spoiled his, so Malik and I will give our draft grades for the Pistons. I had B plus. I'm gonna bring it down to a B because giving up 2 second-round picks, you have to wait and see if Kyrie Thomas translates to the NBA. If he does, it's a B plus draft. If he doesn't, then that hinders your score. Malik?
I'm going to go with a B minus. It would be a B. If it was just Kyrie Thomas, I would have gone B or B plus. But the addition of Bruce Brown, I'm kind of with Joey on that one. It's a flyer pick.
You're doing it basically off potential.
Yeah. It's a guy you know you have to develop in, and he has chances of being injury prone, but he has talent, so they just
And
decide,
he's still an undersized wing, quote unquote,
He
because
is.
I mean, more in the NBA, you'd slot him in a shooting guard spot, but he's not really a shooter, at least in this day's NBA. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to B minus on it.
it's just a little bit odd.
Yep, and you know what? They gave us some excitement on draft night. They made a move. People didn't expect that, especially with currently no GM in place, but even though it looks like Ed's going to be the guy. Let's kind of move on into what is going to be our free agency primer, because free agency starts Saturday night, Sunday morning, July 1st. Big names on the market. LeBron James, Paul George, Chris Paul, DeMarcus Cousins, Clint Capella, DeAndre Jordan. I can go on. There's a lot of movement that could potentially happen in the NBA, but there's also guys that could stay in their current place. I'm going to throw some names at both you guys, and I want you to give me your prediction for what team they'll sign with and your reasoning behind that pick. I'm going to go Malik first, then to Joey, and we'll go back and forth. Malik, I'm going to start with you. DeAndre Jordan.
DeAndre Jordan, has he said what his potential destinations are? Has he said anything?
No, because he hasn't officially opted out or opted in to his deal, which is set for June 29th as the opt-in date. But it's more than likely he's opting out, or he'd opt in to force a trade.
And the only talk right now is Dallas, which he
Okay.
kind of screwed over
Well,
before. So I don't know.
honestly,
that's not the only-
I was thinking he's either going to stay in LA or go to Dallas. Dallas has a good young core building with Dennis Smith. We haven't seen Luka Doncic yet, so we don't know.
Oh,
about
don't
him.
worry. You'll see Luka.
Besides them two, you have a bunch of veterans that are solid players but need to be improved.
I think Harrison Barnes is a solid piece.
He is. I like Harrison Barnes, but he needs more around him to become a better player. But
Yep.
I think in the end, DeAndre Jordan is just gonna stay with the Clippers. They have a good enough team when they're healthy. That team could be a 7th or 8th seed. They could still slide into the playoffs. I'm sure he loves living in Los Angeles. I mean,
That's definitely going to play a
Yeah.
role where you want to live and where you want to have your family, where you want to kind of be in the summertime.
he'd be on a better team in LA and he'd be comfortable.
Joey?
So
DeAndre Jordan. I agree. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I think he's going to stay. I think, like I said, the only other possibility is maybe Dallas, but that's just if he wants to get out of LA. But I think, Chris Paul's gone, Blake Griffin's gone. He's the familiar face in that franchise at this point. So I think he's more of a crowd pleaser at this point, and you have to like LA. I'm sure he does. And the team has looked good. They had a good run at the end of this last season. I think they definitely have some potential to maybe make the end of the playoffs, like Malik said. So I just think he stays. I don't think there's really too much of a reason for him to leave.
Yeah, that's another part I didn't think about. I'm happy Joey brought it up. Him being basically the face and the culture of the Clippers, I'm sure he does a lot of like charity work in the LA area. I'm sure I'm sure he just does a lot around that area, and he means a lot to that area, and I'm sure he knows that. So
Yeah, and
that's
I
a good
I echo your guys' statements there. I think he stays with the Clippers, but let me throw a dark horse team at you here. He loves LA. He loves doing his charity work in LA. Why not play for the Lakers? Maybe play with a little Lonzo Ball, play with maybe a LeBron James or a Paul George or a Kawhi Leonard. I mean, I think the Lakers are a potential suitor for DeAndre Jordan.
There would have to be something you said before the show. They would have to miss on several free agents.
Yeah,
for-
but I
to
think
get
it's
DeAndre
still a
Jordan, not them.
possibility, yeah.
I think they're going to put all their money into 2 potential players. I don't know if they can afford LeBron, Paul George, and DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, I think Magic could make it work.
It's all about the
I'm sure they're
dominoes.
going to miss on one, so it's possible, but
Yeah.
I think he'd be more comfortable in a Clippers uniform.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's all about who signs first, honestly.
Yeah.
In this free agency.
Everything I feel like is going to hinder on where LeBron goes. Once LeBron makes his move, that's when we'll see kind of those dominoes fall. All right, next on my list, Clint Capella. Malik, where's Clint going?
Now, I think Clint has a great chance of leaving.
Really?
Because do you think Houston is going to pay him max money?
Now,
I think Clint Capella deserves max money, but do you think
I think a team's going to give him max money.
Because Chris Paul wants max money.
Well, technically they could make it work with Paul and Clint Capella, but if you do that, you're not getting LeBron James. So I think it's all about timing with Houston. They have to find out early if LeBron's going to go to Houston, or they risk Clint Capella signing in an offer sheet and losing Capella before LeBron makes that choice.
Yeah, it all hinges on what LeBron does, but I'm hoping Clint Capella stays in Houston because him being their center, he's the most important player on that team, to be honest. Without Clint, they don't have that defensive edge and they don't have that guy anchoring the paint. He's huge for them. So I think because he knows how important he is, and I'm sure Daryl Morey is the GM of the Rockets, isn't he? I'm sure he's a very smart guy. I'm sure he knows exactly what he needs to do to get Clint back, and I'm sure Clint will go back to Houston.
Joey?
Yeah, I'm gonna go off that as well. I think he should stay. I think he will stay. He's got the best chance of winning where he's at right now,
Exactly.
compared to any of the other places that he can go. Obviously, it will hinge a little bit on what LeBron decides to do, because if LeBron doesn't commit to Houston, then obviously they can pay him more money. It's an even easier decision. But I think it just makes sense for him to stay. That he's in the best position that he'll be in, and I think he fits perfectly into this team as the rim runner for the team that shoots threes nonstop, and he's the guy that gets down and dirty in the paint, gets those rebounds, gets the putbacks, and I think he's still developing as a player. So I think that he can really help out this Rockets team, who's just on the cusp of being great.
And you know what? If Chris Paul doesn't get injured, you never know what we're talking about when it comes to the Houston Rockets. The one suitor that I was intrigued by for Clint Capella before the NBA draft was Phoenix. There's a lot of rumors that Phoenix is going to go hard after Capella, but once you draft DeAndre Ayton, you take yourself off the market. I'm sure Dallas will give it some consideration since they're in the market for a big man. Mark Cuban said so. Rick Carlisle said they're going for a big man. I think Capella will get some look there. But outside of Dallas and now Phoenix is off the board, there's really not too many suitors that I think would challenge Houston if LeBron doesn't go to Houston and they're going to try to bring back their guys. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting because you can go many ways here. Malik, DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins. This one is a huge question mark because I want him back in New Orleans, but they're not. I don't think they're going to pay him all that money.
I think somebody else will pay him a lot more money than New Orleans is willing to.
I think somebody else will pay him that much money. I think he might have to end up going to a bad team, and I think that bad team might be the Dallas Mavericks.
I like that pick. I echo that too.
I think the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban would throw all that money to him.
I agree with you.
DeMarcus Cousins has been in losing cultures his entire career.
I don't think that'd faze him. I think there's going to be such a difference financially that what New Orleans would offer him opposed to what Dallas is going to offer him, that he would be, for a lack of a better term, dumb to turn it down.
It all matters on how much he wants to win. That's why I hope he takes a pay cut and stays in New Orleans, but these guys want money. These teams are throwing out crazy money.
I mean, one thing for for people to consider too, Mark Cuban wants to win. Yeah, I understand Dallas is not in the best position right now, but you had DeMarcus Cousins. Give it a couple years with Dennis Smith, Luka Doncic. Dirk's on his way
Harrison
out.
Barnes,
but
too.
Harrison
Yeah.
Barnes is a solid player. Let Mark Cuban, Don Nelson, their GM, fill out that roster. You can add another player to that core and somewhat contend for a bottom seed. And that's what Boogie has been kind of vying for his whole career, is those bottom 7, 8 seeds. Joey, where do you think Big Cuz is going?
I think he's gonna stay.
Of course you would say that. The New Orleans Pelicans fan of the studio here, of course he's going to say he stays.
I mean, obviously you can't get into his head, and you don't know if he's gonna go for money necessarily, or the culture, or the winning. But I think the Pelicans really proved themselves in the playoffs that if they get a healthy DeMarcus Cousins back, I think they can figure out a way to include him in the offense the way they did early on in the season, but with that same mentality that they had in the playoffs. I think it makes the most sense for him. Obviously, I get the Mavericks thing of building, but, they kind of tried to do that with the Kings for a little while. Didn't end up working out.
The Kings did not have good ownership.
And the thing is, too, like, DeMarcus Cousins has had a very long history of having issues with the front office and players on his team. I think with New Orleans, he had the least amount of issues. And I think obviously part of it is him and Rondo are really close. I
I'm
think that
surprised
helps.
about how well him and Anthony Davis got
Right.
along.
I think that bond worked out really well. Alvin Gentry has said time and time again that he really wants DeMarcus Cousins back. Obviously, in the end, it's up to the front office if they're willing to pay him, but I think he'll come back. But
Now-
he's probably my least I'm the least confident out of all these choices that we're going to talk about. He's the least likely that I think I'm going to be right.
Now, we've talked about this before, never on air. When it comes to Cousins, is your money better off spent filling out positions on the wing, like a small forward or a shooting guard, depth behind Drew Holiday and Rajon Rondo? Their small forward spot is shot. Are you better as a team to spend your money on a small forward opposed to adding another big man?
I think they're better off with the two big men. I think they found the perfect rotation last year where they didn't always have to play Boogie and Anthony Davis together, but they still played a lot of minutes at the same time.
See, that's why I think there's the potential if Cousins does say he wants to go to Dallas.
And with that late season trade of Mirotic, adding that just changes the dynamic that they can have with their rotation.
Yeah, but it's all big men.
Right. No,
And
I
you
understand
can't
that.
put Mirotic at
But
the
I'm just
three.
saying you can play Anthony Davis and Mirotic. You can play DeMarcus Cousins and Mirotic. You can play Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah,
and you can
yeah.
intermingle them a lot.
Yeah. And Mirotic really came on last year too. But if New Orleans does want to go and spend their money on a wing instead of Cousins, I think Dallas is a kind of perfect fit because you have Harrison Barnes there, work out a sign and trade so you get some value for Cousins, works out for both parties. I think that's something that we might hear rumblings of in free agency because I don't think it's an outrageous claim to think about. I agree with Malik. I think, Malik, you said Dallas, right? For DeMarcus, I have DeMarcus going to Dallas as well. I think the Mavericks are going to offer an outrageous amount of money that he just can't turn down.
Another thing about Dallas, DeMarcus, lately we've seen when he was healthy, the more he gets to do with the ball in his hands, the better he is. I think with him coming back and Rajon Rondo being the point guard, I think you restrict the chemistry that him and Anthony, they were running pick and rolls as a pick and forward and center. I mean, a power forward and center. I think if he goes to Dallas, he'll have a better chance of continuing that. But he'll be constricted to the block maybe with Rajon Rondo as the starting point guard for the Pelicans. It may not work like it did last year.
I agree with that. And also, it makes the Pistons have the best front court duo in the NBA. Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond,
Let's hope.
Just
I
saying. Number 3 now, I put him on this list because he is unrestricted. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I don't think there's a chance he goes anywhere. I just want to get your opinion on it. Chris Paul. Any chance he moves from Houston? Either of you?
I mean, he keeps saying in the media and to everybody he wants a max deal. So if they don't give him a max deal, he could be gone. But
He's also
he has to stay in Houston.
he's also been
He can't
recruiting
leave.
LeBron to Houston hard.
True.
It hasn't been Chris Paul saying, "Hey, let's team up on another team." It sounds like Chris Paul's been recruiting him to Houston extremely hard.
I don't see him going anywhere else because they were about to beat the Warriors and then he got hurt.
I think that plays a huge role too. How successful they were last year. Let's say Houston is a second round out. I think there's more question of Chris Paul leaving the Rockets than it is now.
Yeah, if
Joe?
he leaves the Rockets, it hurts his legacy.
Yeah, I think he stays. I don't think it would make sense for him to go anywhere else. The only other possibility is maybe the Lakers if LeBron goes because they're buddies. But
Banana boat.
even then, it doesn't make as much sense for even the Lakers if they're trying to figure out this Lonzo Ball thing. If they decide, they want to just go with CP3, then yeah. But even then, I think the Lakers would rather have Paul George than Chris Paul paired with LeBron. So I think he stays. And obviously, the success that they had last year, barring his injury, you never know what could have happened.
Yeah. Now let's get into the fun stuff, guys.
I thought that was the fun stuff.
The top tier
The even more
free
fun
agents.
stuff.
Paul George. Now he's gonna have an ESPN special, Orion Sports Center. I think there's one.
Really?
Yeah,
I haven't heard
there's
about
3
this.
parts of this. First one airs tonight, the
What
pre-free
is he-
agency. Then the second one airs next week, what's happening in this free agency. And the third one, the conclusion. That will happen a week after that.
This is all for Paul George.
all for Paul George.
Wait, are
This
you
is a mess.
serious?
I'm serious. It's on sport. You can watch it tonight.
Is that what I saw about the decision 3.0? Is that
No,
what that is?
I think that's still
Is that just
related
LeBron
to LeBron.
stuff? Okay.
That
but-
is the biggest mess I've heard.
So that
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
the OKC stuff, I think there's definitely interest on both sides, but this shows me Paul's a showman. He just wants to build his brand. I mean, he changed his number from 24 to 13 because it sounded cooler. This dude's going to LA. There's no way around it. Yeah,
Well,
this OKC stuff is cool. Malik, tell me what you think here.
Paul George isn't going to win any championships. I'm just going to go out and say that right now. He is not a guy. He'll get to the Western Conference Finals at most. He's going to average 20, 22 points a game. He's going to play good.
He's on the tail end of his career, according to you.
I'm not going to say he's on the tail end. He can still play at an all-star
He's
level.
28.
But
Yeah, he's getting up there.
He's getting a little old there.
he is. He could hit the wall like Darren Williams. I hope not.
Oh, man. Those
But-
ankles failed on that boy.
Paul George, I've lost all my interest in Paul George. 24 was the guy I cared about. I had a lot of hope in 13 in Indiana, but it's just going downhill. I don't know what's going on. I blame last year kind of on Russell, but it's Paul George too. And this is even worse.
Malik.
He's going to LA.
All right.
He's going to the Lakers.
Joe?
I agree with Malik. Like Paul George is like one of my favorite players, and
Yeah, I used to love Paul George.
he's slowly ruining it. I have the Christmas Day Indiana Pacers 24 jersey at my house, and I love that thing. And then he changed to 13, which is okay. I like PG-13. I think the name is cool.
I don't care for it. I think
But-
it's cheesy.
Yeah, just the way he's kind of developed himself. I don't know if I really like the direction that it's going, and I don't know if he's gonna go. Like, I think he wants to go to LA, but I still think that he wants a little bit of like a winning mentality. So if LeBron doesn't go to LA, I don't know if he's for sure gonna go to LA. I think he does still want to have that winning basketball. I think he's still a bit of a competitor.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure he has some competitive drive in him, but to me, he looks like more of a guy that just goes with the flow of stuff.
Right. But I also
Yeah.
think that
He's gonna play hard, but
he doesn't want the backlash from OKC just a little bit. I think that's in the back of his mind, just a little bit.
You know what I would love to see? Paul George is really, really good friends with Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond. Like, if you want that small town feel of OKC and the filling of your legacy, if you win something in Detroit,
So you're saying we got to trade his friends for him?
I'll trade Blake Griffin for Paul George. Sign and trade.
Who's going to do that deal?
If Paul says he wants to go to Detroit and then they get Blake Griffin back, I think OKC would do it.
I don't see.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm just throwing it
So
out
then-
because I.
So then
I'm a Pistons
OKC is going to
diehard.
have Carmelo, Blake Griffin, and Russell. Wow.
They don't want Carmelo.
That
Carmelo
sounds
opted in.
rough.
They don't want Carmelo.
There's also a realistic chance Paul George stays because apparently him and Carmelo are like great friends.
See, that's my pick. I think Paul George stays.
I thought you just said L.A.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
No, I was just saying the argument for LA, but then I'm slowly talking about the reasons that he would stay. Because he's not sure about what's going to happen with LA, and I think it's going to matter on LeBron again. But I think he's got a lot of reason to stay in OKC.
see, I just want another super team to challenge Golden State. I want Paul George in L.A.
I don't want,
I
any
want
more
him with
super
LeBron.
teams.
I don't think the LeBron Paul George super team is going to do it.
I don't think it's not going to work.
I'll be honest.
I think it would challenge them because that's a better team than LeBron had in Cleveland. You're going to tell me it's not a better team than LeBron had in Cleveland.
It's a better team.
And
yes.
LeBron, that really was a 5
But you're going through the
series.
Western Conference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have the Rockets. It's not just the Warriors
Yeah.
anymore.
They'll win 48, 50 games.
You have to get
So-
past the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
they're
honestly,
going back to the
no,
playoffs.
ain't nobody scared of the Timberwolves,
They're
the
going
Timber
back to the-
Puppies. There's stuff
Say
going
that
on
now,
there.
Chris.
The Timber
Say that
Puppies.
now.
Timber Puppies.
Carl
honestly.
Anthony Towns and
Cat's,
Jimmy Butler aren't
no,
playing
no,
any games.
no. Cat's solid. Jimmy Butler is solid, dude. There's a lot of infighting with Wiggins. I think Wiggins might be out the door.
And he should
Get
be.
rid
A
of
lot of
Yeah,
players.
they got-
I've heard rumblings that they don't care for Tibbs. There's just a lot of uncertainty
I think Tibbs could be the problem.
Like,
that could be.
I think Minnesota. I'm getting sidetracked here, but I think Minnesota could have a downward spiral next year. I really could see it.
And Jamal Crawford is probably gone.
Oh yeah,
So,
Jamal's gone.
Yeah.
Bring him to Detroit. I'm bringing
Yes,
everybody to
let's
Detroit.
go.
Let's.
But
get
he
to-
won't sign for mid-level.
Nah. Let's, especially for Detroit. Like
Jamal
if it was a
always
different
wants
team.
his money.
Let's get to the big fish. LeBron James.
Man.
Now,
I'm so ready for him to pick a team
to me,
so that we can just get this stuff going.
there's no other suitors other than 3 teams. One's Cleveland, 2 is LA,
Philly.
and my dark horse
Oh, you're gonna
is
say-
Miami.
Mhm.
I think Miami is in the back of his
I
mind.
haven't heard anybody talking about Miami. That's interesting.
I think it would not hinder his legacy. He's going back to a team he won championships with where he left the first time.
play with Dwayne again.
I mean, I think Wade's on his way out, but
He played better in Miami than he did in Cleveland last year.
that's true. I just think people aren't giving the Miami dark horse enough time. I think it's definitely in the back of LeBron's mind. Malik, I'll let you make your pick. I'll make mine after you two.
Listen, it's LeBron to Cleveland, LeBron to LA. There are rumors he could go to San Antonio. There's been Philly.
Portland.
There's been
The San Antonio
Portland.
The San Antonio stuff, I thought that could have been serious if the Kawhi Leonard stuff doesn't happen. If Kawhi is, or if they keep everything quiet. If they don't have the Kawhi remarks or the trade request and he's there from what the media sees, I think LeBron would have seriously considered going to San Antonio.
I've heard so many things that it's a sure thing he's going to LA. But also, I hope he stays in Cleveland.
No. I'm a Cleveland hater. I'm sorry. Whoever likes Cleveland, listen to the show. I'll apologize. But
Even though,
most people are.
Even
Cleveland
though a
haters.
couple weeks ago, Chris was talking about LeBron was amazing. He's like the greatest player ever. I think he's transcended Michael Jordan.
He's a LeBron guy.
I'm a
I know
LeBron
many
guy.
LeBron
I'm not a
guys.
Cleveland
Oh
guy.
my god!
I know many guys.
I
that
don't
are
know. You
strictly
didn't sound
LeBron.
like just a LeBron guy, but
I'm a
whatever.
LeBron guy, not a Cleveland guy.
He is a LeBron guy and a Mike Budenholzer guy.
I don't
Those
think-
are
I don't
two
think
That
they-
is
things
true.
I-
I'm a big Mike Budenholzer guy.
I don't think you can be those go hand in hand.
But honestly, I can't make a choice. I have no idea.
I need you on the record. So if you're right,
Right now, I'm just gonna go with the Lakers because that's the trendy pick, and everybody's saying that's what's gonna happen. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna go with the Lakers.
Joe.
His son is going to see Hurricane. You know,
I
his
thi- I-
family's there.
I think there's no chance that he goes to Miami. I think that the best fit would be
If he goes to Miami, I'm taking that soundbite and putting it on
Do
loop
it.
for when
I'm-
we start the show.
I'm totally ready
I'm-
for that.
that
totally
would be
ready.
the greatest moment.
I'm ready
that
for
would
that.
be cool if he did it. That
I
would
think-
actually be cool.
I think there's no
Can you say it again
meaning.
for the mic?
There's no meaning for him to go to Miami except to return to the Miami fans that we all know are like the worst fans out of the whole LeBron era.
Wow, you just killed all our viewership in Miami.
That's okay. I don't need them. And so I don't think there's any way that he goes to Miami. I think for me, I like the best fit would be Philly. I don't think he's going there, obviously. I think it's LA or Cleveland. I don't think there's any dark horses. I think LA makes sense because his kid's about to go there. His family's in LA. La la la.
I know where you're going with this.
But
Just say it.
I think he stays. I think he's staying home.
Okay.
I think he's finally going to realize
He's putting everybody through this
This is
just to
just-
stay home.
he's not
Yeah.
putting anybody through
Yeah.
anything.
he doesn't want any
That's the
fans.
thing.
he-
LeBron isn't putting anybody through anything.
I guess actually the best fit is the Rockets. But he's also stated he doesn't want any fancy presentations. I think he's finally grown up,
I
guys.
forgot about the Rockets option.
I think he's learned.
I completely
The
forgot
only
about
thing
the
you can
Rockets
hate on
option.
LeBron James is the decision and how it was done on TV. That's the only thing you could ever hate on LeBron James. The dude's a class act.
Did I say that I was hating on
You're
him?
saying he finally grew up. He's been
Yeah.
grown up.
Because I know, but I'm just saying, like, from past experiences.
All right.
He tried to make up for it, I'm going back to Cleveland. I'm coming home, guys. Like, that was,
Yeah, that was a little cheesy too.
yeah. So, I mean,
I'll give you that.
but I think he's going to stay this time. So
I
that's my hot take of all this. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but I think everybody stays. I think it's going to be another boring free agency that is all hype and nothing happens.
Well, Joe's
I'm more excited about the second tier of players.
Joe's more of a half glass empty kind of guy. He considers himself a realist, but we all know what that means.
Miami fans, we apologize. Joey will take it back at the end of the show.
No.
I mean, don't worry. We'll give him enough stuff if
You know you were a Heat fan in 2020.
Miami was given way too much.
2013, you know you were a Heat fan.
Ew. Are you kidding me?
You weren't a Pistons fan.
They're in the Eastern Conference.
He was
No, I
still
just
a
didn't even
Pelicans
watch.
fan.
I just didn't even watch the NBA.
he was a Pelicans
Okay.
fan before the Pelicans.
Okay.
Yeah, I got LeBron to LA too. I'm not going into some fancy thing. LeBron to LA. I think there's just been so many rumblings about that. I go Malik's statement. I think LeBron just goes to LA to finish out his career.
If you want to go to win
lose
the
more.
championship, go to Houston.
To lose more. That's another thing.
Sure, Joe. Sure.
That's another thing, though. I'm just saying, like, he talks about he cares about his legacy and he wants to be with Michael, better than Michael. If he goes to LA, I think that almost ruins it because I don't think there's any way that they win in LA. Yes, they have a lot of talent. They're young, but it's hard to get those young guys to mold the right way with LeBron, and especially if you get Paul George in there too. Two superstar players like that caliber to be able to kind of mesh the team around that. We saw it in Miami. It didn't work out right away. And I'm just a little bit scared that it wouldn't work out with the Lakers. And then we might not even see LeBron in the Western Finals. And then where does that go on his
I'm
legacy?
changing my pick. I'm going Houston.
Oh my god. All right, Malik changes pick to Houston.
If LeBron wants to win,
That's true.
if you want to beat the Warriors,
Now we have like 3 minutes left in the show here, so I hate to cut our LeBron talk a little bit short, but since it is our free agency primer, we're not going to be able to talk about the start of free agency until next week. I want to get your opinion. Do you think the Pistons make any moves, Malik?
honestly, I don't think the Pistons make any moves. They still
By
have
the
to-
time we go on air next week,
No. Well, do you mean players or the front office?
players.
We'll be
Oh,
what?
players wise, I don't think so. They
We'll
still
just
have to
be
figure
what,
out the rest of the front office.
We'll be 2 days into free agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still have to figure things out.
I mean, they signed Ish within the first day.
That's good. They need to release some players.
I'm just saying they have done it even when they've said they're not.
There's some guys that need to go.
I'm gonna just rail off a couple names here to potentially look for, and Joey can do the same too. I think Rodney Hood is unlikely, but it's a name to consider. Rudy Gay, Mario Hezonja, Jeff Green, Joe Johnson, Doug McDermott, I think is actually going to get a lot of look for the Pistons to fill their small forward spot. James Ennis, he's unrestricted. He was with the team last year. New regime, though, so they might not look that direction. And then Shabazz Muhammad. Joe, do you have anybody you think the Pistons should be looking at?
I agree. I think Doug McDermott, I think he's a good fit. He fits the slot. I mean, he's not a defender, but, we drafted some defenders, so we're good on that end.
Rodney
But,
Hood isn't gonna get the
sarcasm
money he
on
thinks he's
Heat.
going to get.
We need some shooters. So I think Doug McDermott would be good. I'd like to bring Aaron Aflalo back. I know we talked about it before. Chris isn't as much of a fan.
Well, he's a shooting guard. He's not a small forward. That's why.
That's okay. I just need shooting. But the dream and there's literally zero chance, but I just saw him on the free agent list. Gerald Green would be amazing.
Oh, stop
but there's
it.
no way. He's got it too good right now. Another one I still think is a good flyer is Glenn Robinson III.
Oh, I forgot about him. Good call. Good call. Good
He's
call.
still young. He's still got potential.
I
think he's a 3-and-D type of player.
I agree with you completely.
Come
No,
on,
stop it,
Malik. You're
Our
a Michigan fan.
He's a Michigan guy, but come on, he didn't even deserve to win that dunk contest.
He
We're
still
not-
had some pretty good dunks though.
That's his career highlight, and that's come on.
Now, I think out of what we just said, I think the 3 names for Pistons fans to look for over the next 2 or 3 weeks is Mario Hezonja, Doug McDermott, and like Joe said, Glenn Robinson III. I think those are 3 guys the Pistons will actually look hard at. Malik, do you have anybody that you think they should look for or any predictions for them?
I agree that Doug McDermott, they should probably look at him because when Blake is working wherever he is, Doug will be running around trying to get open so Blake can hit him for an open 3. And don't be surprised if Rudy Gay ends up as a Warrior. He is the type of guy.
Yeah. Or Trevor Ariza.
Yeah. Rudy Gay, to me, is the type of guy that just ends up in Golden State and in the playoffs. We're like, oh, he's on that team. He's helping. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like Swaggy P. Swaggy Champ. I'm sorry. Swaggy Champ.
Swaggy Champ now. Yeah, that's our show for this week. Some NBA draft breakdown. Talk about some free agency. We're going to get into that again next week. Free agency is going to last a couple weeks here. Maybe we'll talk some summer league. I know Joe might be heading out to Las Vegas. I'm not sure if the budget was enough for Malik and I, but we'll.
No, I go into hibernation during summer.
Oh,
league.
he goes in hibernation. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. I'm Chris Pappas.
I'm Joey Isaac.
I'm Malik.
See you guys.
Bye.
Joey would have drafted Darko Milicic.
JaVale wants to be a Warrior.